There it is, Iago.
What do you make of this?
It looks like a graveyard of ships.
Now, talk about bait and switch. What I mean by this is the title doesn't match the enigma of the mystery itself. Last week's episode wasn't a huge draw for much of the Clone Wars fanbase, and while I feel that it possesses some redeeming qualities aside from this week's surprising follow-up, however, was presented in such a way that it seemed like you could have told what happened in a passing mention rather than dedicating an entire 20-minute installment to it.
He's got a point.
The only saving graces to this entire escapade is what it gives us about Anakin and his steady descent into the dark side with his feelings, and the resolve of Ahsoka in her first breakout moment for the series. Let's not waste any time around it though and break down what occurs, and I'll give you my thoughts at the end. We begin on Naboo, where the gang is wrapping up the insanity caused by Dr. Vindy in the last installment, when Vindy's bunny bot surprises everyone by reactivating a supposedly deactivated bomb.
You didn't see that coming.
And blasts the base with the Blue Shadow virus.
What? What the fuck?
The base goes into lockdown with Ahsoka, Rex and his men just about making it out into a panic room, but a small wisp breaches it, and it isn't too long before their conditions deteriorate.
God fucking damn it!
Anakin and Obi-Wan meanwhile incarcerate Vindy and discover a route from the planet Iago, the world of 1,000 moons, and set out with a limited time frame of 48 hours to retrieve it and concoct a medicine to wipe the virus out completely before it kills off the remainder in the base.
Good times.
As they set off, Padme and Jar Jar traverse the halls, and knowing that they're already infected, Ahsoka and the clones decide to stop the remaining droids from unlocking the base and letting the virus spread.
What fun!
What fun.
As they make repeated attempts to stop them, Jar Jar screws things up once again by compromising Padme's protective suit and exposing her to the virus while this all transpires.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
Anakin and Obi-Wan make it to Iago and are greeted by an entire battalion of modified battle droids. After Anakin makes an early strike, Obi-Wan points out his flaws in the situation and they meet the young lad who worked on them, Jabo Hood.
Who?
Jabo informs them that the route they're looking for is in the caverns of the planet, where there's also extremely dangerous and active vegetation that does try to kill them pretty quickly. They venture down into the canyons and retrieve the route, but must confront the mystery of 1,000 moons shortly after by being told by a rather disgruntled and homeless man about Droll's curse. Believing it to be nothing but superstition, they make an attempt to leave the planet regardless, but are driven back when they realise the planet's guarded by an energy field. When they return, Anakin plans to use the droids that Jabo retrofitted to strike the energy fields after the Separatists converted the Angels' moon into the core and drove them from their home world. They're contacted by Ahsoka and Padme, who are starting to succumb to the effects of the virus, which pushes Anakin into desperation mode when Obi-Wan gets through to him and says to approach this more rationally. They venture through the energy field with Jabo's droids, and R2 takes over, directing them into the right places, and they make it out alive and back to Naboo, whilst freeing Iago and the other moons in the process. They make it back just in time and get Ahsoka and Padme and the rest of the men out of the base, with Jar Jar being supposedly set up to be trained with a blaster, to which Rex acts as an allegory for the audience in this moment by saying,
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Now, in the meteoric rise of the series and the levels of reverence that people have for it, it's often overlooked some of the adventures like this duology and how important they are for providing a deeper mythology to the wider universe and grounding the series from reaching the heights of overrated. In the case of the Blue Shadow virus, this certainly has a mixed response from the fanbase, as it presents some fascinating concepts in the virus and the mystery of the 1,000 moons, as there's more to that story aside from its supposed ghost. However, the shortcomings from this primarily exist in Jar Jar, Vindy, and the simplicity of its resolution. I really wish that the story of the virus was expanded upon, as it had the potential to become a greater threat to the galaxy at large. Ahsoka was an absolute fucking trooper in this, and I said that this was a breakout showing for her, which many tend to skip past, but she still possesses that naivety that makes her unquestionably loyal to the Jedi Code at this point, when there wouldn't have been a greater concern felt for her loss in this except from Obi Obi-Wan and Anakin. Padme, delivered alongside her in this too, and proves to be more than capable once again, whilst acting as a driving force for Anakin's motivation, which is hilarious considering his Padawan and men are also trapped in there as well. It feels like a pretense at times for him just to assert his love for Padme. Jabo is certainly a prodigy, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him again someday, as he evokes those young Annie and little Luke vibes that kicked off the entire saga, being orphaned and good with droids. The humour was decent enough, and once again the chemistry between James Arnold Taylor and Matt Lanter is unlike anything we see in live action for these characters, and it was also good to get a little bit more insight into the descent of Anakin, witnessing his growing frustrations at not being able to save everyone around him, which is something of course that Palpatine praised upon in Revenge of the Sith. Overall, I think this arc has its merits, but ultimately falls short through to a rushed problem/solution, too much Jar Jar, and I certainly feel it's one of the weakest duologies from the entire series. That's going to do it for me though, everybody. I appreciate you watching. Please do leave a like and subscribe for more like this down the road, and until next time everyone, take care, and may the Force be with you.